When you first log into SchoolAI, if it looks like this, you are working in the 1.0, the original, the old version of SchoolAI. To access the new version, the new look, 2.0, you would click here in the top where it says Unlock Early Access. And then you come here to the new homepage, which they call My Space, where you have Dot, which is the chatbot that you can just immediately start asking questions or talking to about whatever you need. So if you want help creating a rubric or a lesson plan, you can ask Dot. If you want help just doing some general research, you can ask Dot. Anything you want, you just ask right here. You can also, from right here, create a space. So a space is an interactive activity, kind of a custom chatbot. So you can create a student space for students to complete interactive activities. You can create a teacher space, which could be for yourself or others in your department. Think of it kind of as a support tool to help you with something that you do consistently. So if you're always using the same template for a lesson plan or a rubric, or you have to include certain things every time, you can create a teacher space so that it kind of guides you through more conversationally rather than you needing to create that document from scratch every time. So that's teacher space. Staff space is more for administration, for the same kind of concept as a teacher space. So if there was a strategy that, maybe something related to MTSS, that district office wanted everyone to follow the same template or something like that, they could create a staff space that could be used across the district. So most teachers are going to be using student space. So you can click here to create a student space. You can also access that over here on the left side where it says create a space. Also, at any point when you're working in SchoolAI, this new version, be aware that it is in beta, which means they're still testing it. It's still an early version. It's not the official release. And the reason they're doing that and giving us access is so that they can get feedback from teachers. So if you find a bug, if something isn't working correctly, or if you just don't like something, submit feedback. Don't be afraid to go in and tell them, like, hey, I really don't like the way this is working. They do listen, and they are planning on making changes based on the feedback that they receive. So if you feel comfortable, go ahead and hit that submit feedback. And if at any point you feel like you need to just go back, you can return to the old experience as well, and you can jump back and forth as much as you want. So the new experience in creating a student space is you don't have to write the prompt. In the old version, if you created a space, you would have a section where you would have to write your own prompt from scratch. You could go in and chat with an assistant, a space designer assistant, to help you create the prompt. Then you would have to copy that prompt, go back to Spaces, and paste it in. Now it's sort of all in one. So instead of doing that, you can just type in what you want help with. So if you know exactly what you want to do, you can type it in. If you have no idea, you can ask Dot to give you some suggestions. You can say, this is what I teach, this is the grade level, this is what my students are like. Give me some ideas on how I can use Spaces to make this more engaging for my students. But if you already have an idea, let's say you are an algebra teacher, you're covering polynomials, and you want to create kind of a study buddy or tutor kind of thing to help with a specific unit. So a really cool piece you can do is upload files. So you can upload your entire unit. This particular document has kind of a unit outline. It also has a quiz and an answer sheet attached so that the space can see this is specifically what I'm covering and then provide that support. You can also add standards, which you can do from Common Core, and they also have state standards in there as well. So you can go ahead in and select particular standards if you want to. You can select all, you can select just a couple. And you can add those standards as well. Then you just type in whatever it is that you want the space to look like, the activity to look like. You can put as much information or as little as you want, and Dot is essentially going to clarify with you. Make sure that you've given everything you need. So you can see up at the top, if we Jump ahead, that means you've gotten a lot of information included, but you might get some follow-up questions, and you can feel free to answer all, some, or none of these. You could even just say, just create a space for me now, please. Again, with the follow-up, feel free to say all, some, or none. And once Dot has enough information, you'll see that the right side of the screen turns into the space itself. It's actually creating the space. The left side of the screen stays with the chat, which means that you can continue having a conversation with Dot as you're creating this space. So as you read through it, as you preview it, if there's changes you want to make, you can make them manually, or you can go back to Dot and say, this isn't working correctly, or I don't like this. Can you change this? And when you have those conversations, just right now, they want you to use the term regenerate. So if there's some changes you want to make, you can ask for those changes, and then you can say regenerate the space. They are working to fix that so that they can use more natural language, like please recreate the space or make this again now, something like that. But at the moment, use the term regenerate. So we see that Dot has asked a question. You can answer that if you want, or you can ignore it. But over here on the right side, we have the general instructions. This is essentially the beginning of the prompt. So this is what you are telling the bot, the chat space, what you're telling it to do. So read through this, make sure that it's what you actually want them to do. And if not, you can make changes manually, or you can go back to Dot and ask for changes to be made. And then you'll see, and you can see it over here on the left side too, this broken down into steps. So this is called an agenda. So this did not exist in the old SchoolAI, but it basically walks students through each section one piece at a time. Once they complete the goals or the outcome of each step, they move on to the next step. Read through some of these carefully. I always find that kind of the first and last steps sometimes require a little more of the students than I would necessarily want. In this particular case, it wants them to list a concept they find challenging, and things like that, rate their confidence. Maybe you want that, maybe you don't care about that. So maybe you say, you know what, I don't really want a self-assessment, I just want it to give an introduction and then move on. So you can make those changes too. The other piece you might notice is these things called power-ups. So in here, we have a document generator power-up. So it gives the students the ability to generate, to actually write inside of a document. There are other power-ups you can add. So if I wanted to add a power-up in the operations practice, I could go in and, maybe it's a doodle board. I want to be able to see the students, have them do their own work in kind of a written form. Maybe it's a graphing calculator if you're using something with math. So these are just a few of the power-ups you can add to each step if you want to. Not required, but if you add them, it's just something the students can work with. So if I add graphing calculator to this, it gives them the ability to kind of have a calculator as they're working. If I add a doodle board to this, it gives them a place where they can kind of take notes. So feel free to add power-ups if Dot doesn't, and same thing if you want to remove them. If you say, you know what, I don't really need a document generator there, you can take it out. So go through, make adjustments as needed, and then you can preview the space. You can see what it would look like for students. So when you preview, this is actually what the student view is going to look like. So you're going to see at the top each of the steps and where they are currently in the steps of the space. I find it best when I am previewing spaces to do it as intended, as a student that would follow all the directions the way they're supposed to, but then also doing it kind of as a student who would not be as engaged, kind of going with one-word answers or trying to get off task, just making sure that it works the way it should in both of those scenarios. So once you're happy with the preview, you can go up to Publishing Details, and here's where you get to choose an image that's associated with your space. And I will tell you that the look of the images is pretty consistent from space to space. It's all these styles, and some of them don't really make a whole lot of sense. So feel free to regenerate images if you want to, or go and find your own image, maybe make something in Canva or generate something somewhere else, and then you can actually add it in. At the moment, their image generators related to spaces are not great, but in this case, we're just doing a preview, so we'll just pick one. And then down here in the publishing details, these top three are visible to students. So the title, the subtitle, and the introduction, so the students can see it. And then the about section is more for teachers if they are seeing what the space is all about, if they want to use it. The grade level is there. The space visibility, so you can make it public, or you can make it so that it's private, where whoever you share it with can have it, but it's not public to the world. So that's up to you. And then the last option on here is whether you want students to see the agenda. If you want them to get that sort of like, these are the number of steps you have and here's where you are in the progression. So most of the time, that's a great feature to have on for students so they know where they stand. But if you ever needed to turn it off, you could. So once you're happy with everything, you can publish the space. From there, you can kind of see what it looks like, see what's associated with it. You can preview it again, you can edit it, you can delete it. And then this piece is new. So saving, this is something that SchoolAI has added recently. Over here we have the Organize tab. You can now organize your content into folders. So before, you just had a whole bunch of spaces just all listed kind of by date that you created it. So now you have the ability to create, they call them collections, but essentially folders to organize your spaces and your documents that are created. So to do that here, I can click Save, and I can save it into whatever collection I want. And now it's organized. So you don't have to create it and then go to Organize and then move it. You can do it right from the page after you create it. And then when you're ready to launch it to your students, you click Launch for Class. You get a page link that you can copy and paste to your students. When your students log in, they can join, and then they're going to see exactly what we saw when you did the preview. Once students get in and start having this conversation with Dot, as a teacher, you're going to be able to see your mission control. You're going to see the student, their progress in the space, and then just sort of general information. If you click on the student, you'll be able to see the transcript, any alerts if students are saying anything inappropriate, and then insights, general insights about their conversation and how it's going. So the more students you have and the more they start working, the more you will see here. You'll be able to see how many students are on each step and what their mastery level is on each step. So it gives you tons of insights to be able to know where the students stand on your particular space. To get back to this at any point, when you are in the space, you can click My Sessions and you'll see any sessions that you've run. So you can launch this separately for each one of your classes if you want to be able to see each period separately rather than all of your students at once. You can do that. Or maybe you do it for one semester and then the next semester you launch it again. So you could have multiple sessions like that. And then you can click View to get into your master control. Sorry, your mission control. And you can also, from the three dots, you can end the session. So if you're finished with it, you don't want students to be able to get back into it, you can end that session. You can also do that from your mission control. Right up here, you can choose to end the session or even just pause the session if you want them to work on it in class, and then pause it and then restart it the next day, or vice versa. If you want them to not work on it in class, you only want them to be able to do it at home, you can have it active and then pause it during class time. So that's how you create spaces in the new SchoolAI view. Again, don't forget this is in beta, so you may come across bugs or issues. If you do, go into that submit feedback section. You can do it multiple times. So if you find one and you submit feedback and then 2 days later you find another one, go ahead and submit feedback again. The other piece that you might need that did exist in the old SchoolAI is Discover. So if you want to see other spaces, you will be able to find spaces that were created in the old version as well. So if I click on this one, you can see this looks like what the old Create spaces looked like. So you can still use old ones. You can still launch them. You can still remix them. With the new version of creating spaces, it'll look like this, kind of similar to what we saw after you created your own space. You'll notice that you can launch this. You can preview it. You can save it. But you cannot, at the moment, remix it. They are adding that back in, so just be aware that if you find a new space, you can launch it, but you're just going to have to launch it for as is, exactly as is. You can't make any adjustments to it. So that functionality will come back. I'm just not sure when. So feel free to discover other spaces. You can search for topics, or you can just kind of go through. You can see for students, there's over 100,000 spaces to choose from, and that's because every time a teacher creates a space and lists it as public, that means anyone in the world can take a look at it and be able to use it. So feel free to explore this, create spaces, have conversations with Dot, ask Dot to create content for you, play around with some of those power-ups, see what they can do, and have fun with it.